Okay, welcome back to this now quarterly podcast. I'm really glad to be here with you. I'm exhilarated. I couldn't be happier. Here's where we're at. I've probably got about 45 minutes to tell about a 6-hour story if I were to include every tiny detail. I'm being held hostage by my children, as per usual. I just want to let you guys know that I found a 24/7 stream of the Golden Girls. And that's what I chose over you yesterday. And today, technically right now, I should be cleaning and organizing my shitty pantry. And I'm not. I'm here with you. Why? Good question. I owe you. I feel like I owe it to you. I wish I had bought a drink down here. Now I'm pasty. Too bad. So sad. Okay, I missed you. Let's get rolling. We do not have a lot of time here. Okay, I'm being held hostage, as I said. Stelly Belly is napping. I've got her monitor here, so when you hear the crying, you'll know the show is over. Okay, so you may be wondering where I was. I did 2 shows in a row. Thought I was really keeping up with my bullshit, and that bullshit being this. And then something happened, and I disappeared for an extended period of time. What happened? Okay, let's find out. So, in the week leading up to Christmas Eve, here's how my day usually goes. Every day on work days. I get up at whatever the hell time my kids start screaming and get the kids ready, get them dressed, pack their lunches, pack my lunch, drop them off at their respective daycares, which right now are 2 separate places because Stella's not quite yet old enough to go to Malcolm's daycare. Great. And then I go over to my mom's, I check her blood sugar, I load the dishwasher or unload it or move along laundry or do whatever fucking things, like small things I can do in the 20-minute span that I'm there. And occasionally I'll walk Max in the morning. If I have time, I like to do that because then he's less likely to piss and shit in her house, which is also a great feature. And the problem being that I wasn't able to go to my mom's house the week before Christmas for obvious reasons. I'm a mailman and people order shit and they need that shit delivered. And it's a very heavy, very stressful, very busy time of year. Like I feel like my workload almost triples, which is really boring mailman talk unless you're Cliff Clavin or Newman. No one cares. Just no one cares. So I wasn't able to go there. So my mom, I call her and check in on her and stuff. She's like, "Oh, are you coming here?" I'm like, "No, I can't. If I come there, I'll start work really late and then I'm going to end up working in the dark because it gets dark here at like fucking 4:30 around Christmas." And there's nothing more soul crushing than having it be dark, knowing you have an hour and a half left on the street. And there was one point, was it last year or the year before, where I somehow decided I would take a shortcut. And that shortcut led to a gigantic snowdrift where I was stuck up to my thighs in the dark, and I just looked up at the moon and I questioned every fucking decision I had ever made in my entire life that brought me to that precise moment in time. And I wanted to avoid that this year, if at all possible. So I wasn't able to go there. And I get a text from the sister that lives in my mom's basement, and I think I've referred to her as Janice in the past, and Janice, she shall be continuing or moving forward, because Janice is going to play a huge part in every aspect I'm about to tell you. Oh, Janice. Janice. Which is also Tony Soprano's sister's name. Also fucking totally useless. Okay? So let's just go with Janice. And so I get a text from Janice that my mom isn't feeling well. She's throwing up, but my sister's giving her chamomile tea and she's drinking that and she's kind of throwing it up. She said she spent the entire day on the main floor, and I assumed my mom was laying on the couch on the main floor. But no, what actually ended up happening is my sister was sitting on the couch in the main floor, and I guess watching my mom upstairs go to the bathroom periodically and, not helping her or checking on her in any real way. So that's fun. Okay, so then that's Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday I get a text message in the morning saying, "Oh, she's back to normal. Everything's fine." And I was like, oh, great, because now it's Christmas Eve morning, and I'm sitting with my kids, and I'm drinking a hot cup of coffee, and, we're going into, doing stocking stuffer things, letting them open a little trinket or two in the morning. And I'm happy. I'm like, okay, great. My mom's better. Drinking this coffee. And then I get another text message. The water heater's leaking. This is at my mom's house where my sister Janice lives. You know Janice. Yeah, we've talked about her many times before. I don't know if she has like borderline personality disorder or if she's just a complete and total narcissist. I'm not entirely sure. But either way, me no reiki her. She's not a good person and she's not very nice. Just wait, okay? Wait. And that's a text message I get at, I'm going to say 7:30. And I'm like, okay. Well, how are you? I'd write back to her, how are you going to deal with that? Well, it's not my house. Okay. And I said, who's going to pay for the water heater? The owner of the house, she writes back. And I wrote back to her, I'm like, we call my mom Mama because we're Italian. I'm like, Mama has no money, right? Well, that's not my problem. I said, okay, great. So what do you want me to do about this situation? And I'm looking at Sarah, and she's my significant other, in case this is your first show. And I'm like, well, I looked at Sarah and I said, this is going to be not only my problem, but I'm going to have to pay for this. And Sarah's like, well, that's bullshit. And I said, yeah. And I don't think there are a lot of spouses out there that would be like, sure, I love when you spend any and all of your extra money for a house that you don't live in. Because really, in all actuality, Janice pays nothing. Literally nothing. It costs everyone in my family money for my sister to live at my mom's house, except for my sister. Do you understand? And trust me, I stayed there for an extended period of time. I stayed there till I was 32 and pregnant. And my mom was really mad at me when I moved out. It's not like a normal family where it's like, oh, you're 17 3/4. You better get a renter's guide. No, not for Italian families. They want you to stay there forever. And in my mom's words, I'm exactly quoting her exactly. Why didn't you stay here until I was dead? I wanted you to stay here at home with me until I die. Duh. Okay, not helpful. So, okay, now I've got this going for me. I've got the water heater broken. She's basically throwing her hands up saying, not my problem. And now it's become my problem. So financially, okay, fine. I'll put it on a credit card. I just, I wanted to spend Christmas Eve morning with my kids. So that's a little selfish. So I call my other sister and I said, listen, I've got the credit card. I've arranged for them, the water heater people to come. Can you just be there to fucking let them in? And she said, okay. So she goes to my mom's house and Janice is there acting like a total fucking psycho, like just yelling and like, well, I arranged for the water heater repair guy to come and she did this and I want a 40-gallon tank. Like, I'm sorry. What the fuck are you even talking about? And she's yelling. And in our childhood, like in my childhood, yelling brings about a great deal of stress and anxiety for all of us, except for whoever's doing the yelling at the time, of course. And my non-Janice sister had her daughter with her, and she didn't want my niece exposed to someone acting like a total fucking yelling retard. So she piles into her car and she leaves and she calls me crying and she's like, Janice is freaking out. She's acting like an asshole. I don't like that. It makes me feel really bad. And she's like crying and it takes a lot for her to cry. So I was like, fuck. And then I'm like, well, how's Mama doing? And she's like, she hasn't been out of bed in 3 days. She needs help to go to the bathroom. She might be really sick. I don't know what the fuck is going on. And I was like, okay. And I know it's shitty that I tried to pass the buck onto my non-Janice sister. I get it. But in my opinion, it's like, okay, I'm already going to be the one fucking paying for this. I shouldn't have to be the one to be there to let the guy in and deal with that. I figure fair's fair, like I'm going to be stuck paying for this for the next 12 months. Could I not be the one to fucking let him in? So she's crying, freaking out. She's like, I'm leaving. I don't want to be around her and all this shit. And I thought, fuck. So I look at Sarah and I'm just like, okay. And I start crying and I'm getting stressed out and like my chest is thumping because I'm afraid of my mom being sick. I'm afraid of the damage that Janice is going to do because she just kind of like is like a rabid dog when it comes to stress. She loves it. She thrives on it. She hands it out. She's verbally abusive. She's mentally abusive. She's just a total piece of shit. And I don't use that loosely. Okay. So I'm like, okay. I look at Sarah. I said, I'm going there. She's like, why are you leaving? I'm like, I have to go there. Non-Janice is freaking out and crying in her car. And Janice just like threw a fucking temper tantrum like she's like a 15-month-old baby. And I have to go fucking deal with this now. And she's like, oh, great, another fucking Sanchez Christmas. And it's like, yeah, I know. Like, almost every Christmas I have ever had has been fucking awful. It's always been fucking awful. Between an alcoholic father and like, my mom threw out a Christmas tree when I was 4 or 5. Just threw it out. And we just never had Christmas again until my niece was born. And that sucks. But that's okay, because we're all, I'm trying to change things for my kids and break the cycle, except I kind of cried in front of them and, like, had a bit of a panic attack, freak out sesh in front of them, which I deeply regret, but it happened. And don't worry, we talked about our feelings later and everything was fine. So now in my brain, I'm like, okay, if the water heater breaking and costing me $1,300 is the worst fucking thing that happens today, great for me. I'm amped. Sounds good. So I get there. Janice is now gone. She's fled the scene because she's caused her bullshit turmoil and made everyone upset. So she's gone now, leaving to my sister and I to figure out the water heater, which at the moment seems a tiny little problem. It's not a big deal. It's a big financial problem, but it's not a big, like, life problem. Great. So we go upstairs and I'm like, I go and look at my mom and she does not look well. Okay? She's been throwing up since Thursday and it's Saturday now. Except, she made it sound very minimal. Like, oh, I'll drink something and then I throw it up and it's like, mucus in your stomach and you don't want to have that mucus sitting in your stomach. So I just had some tea and, I'll throw it up and then blah, 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 blah. She just minimize. And I said, well, how do you feel? Like, does it feel like when you had the stroke? Do you have a bad headache? Do you have a fever? No, it feels like my mouth is warm. I don't know what the fuck that means. I still don't know what the fuck that means. And so I look at non-Janice and I'm like, call HealthLinks. And I don't know if you have HealthLinks in the States, but it's basically you call a nurse. It's kind of like a call center and a nurse works there and she basically always tells you to go to the hospital, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But anyway, my sister's on the phone with HealthLinks. My mom's like, I'm not going to the hospital. And HealthLinks lady's like, look, if she can't get up unassisted, if she's too dizzy to go to the bathroom by herself, she needs to be checked out, especially with all her underlying medical conditions. Oh, I don't know, such as stroke, and she's had congestive heart failure. She's just not, like, tip-top ready to roll, okay? And nor does she ever choose exercise as some form of entertainment. Okay, it's just not what she does. She goes from the couch to the bathroom to the couch. Like, she's basically like a prisoner. Like, I think I'm not kidding when I say this, that she probably lays down for 22 hours a day without exaggeration. Okay, so when something hits her, it hits her hard. And the Friday before, so that would probably be about like a week before, she had to go get blood work. And then she came home and then Thursday the Thursday after that, she got sick and she's been throwing up since. And now I feel like it's Saturday morning. Like, it's Christmas Eve morning, whichever the hell day that was. And, the HealthLinks nurse is on the speakerphone, and my mom's like, no, I just need one more day at home. I don't want to go to the hospital. And the nurse is like, just go to the hospital. Worst case scenario, they give you some IV fluids, check you over, make sure you're healthy, and send you home. So we thought, okay, great. Who does not want to spend Christmas Eve at a fucking hospital? What's that? No one wants to fucking spend Christmas Eve at a fucking hospital? Yes, you're right. No one does. So we get my mom up. I don't know the last time she showered, but it wasn't recently. I will tell you that by the exciting aroma that was coming from her body. Okay, so we get her changed. We put her bra on. Oh, man, I have seen my mom naked more times than I feel anyone ever should see their mother naked. Because, not only is it kind of weird, I mean, it's my mom. It's not the end of the world, but it's like kind of like a crystal ball. Do you get where I'm going here? I'm seeing my future in my mom's belly button, and it doesn't look good. Okay, so we get her dressed up, get her down the stairs, get her into the garage, because it's like the easiest way to get her into my car. And she's arm in arm with me, and she does this thing where she digs her nails into the fat of my upper fat ham hock mom arm and pinches the skin with her fingernails. So it's like someone is stabbing me in my fat mom arm. So we get her into the car, and she's the whole way there. She's like, oh, you guys, I never have a nice Christmas, so you guys are taking me to the hospital. Why? I just need to lay down. I'd be okay. And I'm like, no, you're not okay. You're not okay. You need to go to the hospital. No, you're stupid. And she looks at my sister and she's like, you're stupid too. And I was like, yeah, well, I think you're faking it and you just want fucking attention and to ruin Christmas again. So we get her to the hospital. They check her blood sugar. It's like 13, just not good. It's not terrible, but it's not great. But the nurse seemed pretty chill at the front. She's like, okay, here's a Gravol. And we explain the situation to her, all her previous conditions, and we still are made to wait. And I failed to mention to you how the medical system works in Manitoba now. We've had this election, and let me look up what a premier is before I totally bash this sadistic piece of fucking garbage. Hold on a second. Okay, I've Googled it. A premier in Canada, a premier is the head of government of a province or territory. So the province of Manitoba, the premier of Manitoba, is kind of like higher than a mayor. His name is Brian Palliser, and he's a millionaire. So he's kind of like a Donald Trump-y businessman, head of social programs and organizing them and cutting costs and all this shit. Okay, so he's trying to run our medical system in Manitoba as though it's a business. And it's not helpful, I feel, because instead, like we used to have, I don't know, let me just make up a random number. Like let's say we had 7 emergency rooms in hospitals across the city. Well, now we don't. Now we have urgent care hospitals, which are for, let's say, you break a bone, or you have a bleeding nose, or you need stitches. Things that are not life-threatening, you go to urgent care. And in my mom's area, there's only one emergency room, and it's pretty far from her house. And the nurse at HealthLink suggested, well, just go to the urgent care close to you, and they'll probably, like I said, give you fluids and send you home. So we went to the urgent care hospital, which happens to be where my mom's doctor, like her actual GP, works out of that hospital. And we get there, yada yada. So now you know that this premier is trying to cut costs, okay? And he's like taking away emergency rooms, turning other ones into urgent care, and it's a very confusing, stupid way to run things. The nurses don't like it. The patients are made to wait just the same. They're basically trying to make it look like our emergency wait times are better than they actually are. And I have proof of that because we lived it. Okay, so we get there and we're waiting. And then we get into the back where the stretcher is, and she's going to get looked over, and we're waiting. And my mom's like, why are we waiting so long? I said, well, be happy because they don't think you're sick enough to like come here right away. It's not an emergency. And she said, oh, okay, I guess so. And she's not feeling well. She still doesn't want to drink. She doesn't want to eat. She's, general malaise. And the nurse comes in, checks her. She's fine. They're thinking, okay, well, she just needs some fluid, so we'll start an IV, but they can't give her too many fluids because she's got congestive heart failure and all this fucking shit, right? So the doctor comes in, and he's like, okay, we're going to send you for a CT scan just to make sure this isn't another stroke and that, you're okay, and we'll get you going home as soon as possible. Which sounds really hopeful. I'm like, great. But I'm also kind of like, oh, fuck, because I really don't want it to be another stroke, because she really got lucky the last time that she only lost partial vision in her eye and she's able to walk and have use of her legs and her arms. Because once you're immobile, I feel like that really fucks up your quality of life. So the running theme of this story is chest pain and anxiety for my own self. And I'm not trying to make this about me, but you're listening to my show, not my mom's podcast. My mom's podcast, she's doing great. Like, she's climbing the iTunes charts. She's charping the iTunes farts. Okay, that's what she's doing. So she goes for the CT. Keep in mind, I'm making this very brief. This is in the span. I'm gonna say, I think we got there about 1:30. And she goes for her CT probably about 6:30. And so my sister and my niece, we're all there. We're all in the little room. And then my sister and my niece leave to go get some food. She gets the CT done. And she comes back and the doctor's like, great news, you're not having a stroke. All I can see is the old stroke. And I was just like, oh, great. That's great news. Glad to hear it. And all they need is a urine sample and my mom can go home. Doesn't that sound great? Doesn't that sound awesome? So I'm like looking at my mom. She's like, I can't drink. I can't do it. And I'm like, please just fucking drink. Leave a pee sample so we can fucking leave. Like, we don't have to stay here. And she's like, okay. And she was really motivated to leave. So she drinks about 4 cups of water, like not actual cups, but like little plastic cups, 4 cups of water in the span of, I'm going to say, about an hour, hour and a half, because she wants to give them the pee sample and get the fuck out of there. So she drinks it, and then she's like, okay, I can pee now. And then she sits up in the bed and she kind of looks really pale and really wobbly. And she said, I cannot walk to the bathroom. I'm going to fall. And I said, okay. So I talked to the nurse, we get her a wheelchair, get her in the wheelchair, and I'm going ahead of her, like with the healthcare aide to make sure everything in there, like she's got to have that thing that catches the pee in the toilet. And then, I hear my niece say, oh no, Nat. And she is going off like a fucking barf sprinkler everywhere, water everywhere, like all over. And my niece, bless her heart, grabs the garbage can, gives it to my mom to throw up in, and is like rubbing her back. And I'm like, fuck. Here we go. So they see how sick she is, and they're like, okay, well, we can't discharge you. We did get the urine for a sample to make sure she doesn't have a bladder infection, but she can't go anywhere. She's too dizzy. She's not well. So they have this room that it had a sign that said cast room. So I guess they converted it into a private room. So look, we were very thankful for that. They went back there, and then they check her oxygen level, and it's like 85, 86. Not good. And it's like 3 a.m. by now. It is not good. They're panicking. They put the oxygen on her. They're like, they keep coming in and out, and the thing keeps beeping. So they turn the beeping off. And I'm like, I am out. Like, I am checked out. I have been up since like 6 or 6:30. And I'm just like, holy fuck. Okay. I'm like, is everything okay? And they're just like not even answering me, because I've fallen asleep in like a lazy boy chair at this point. And I keep seeing the red light go on and off. And then they'd come in and check her, and then crank up her oxygen and then leave. And I'm just like, she's passed out cold. Like, she doesn't give a flying fuck what's going on, because she's just completely unaware of anything, because they gave her some Gravol and some real tasty drugs. So she's out. And I'm on one of those lazy boy things that don't completely recline. And also when you sit on it, it has this rubbery sound, like when you lean back. And you've got to be really fucking top heavy to keep that back part, like the partially reclined it does do. I think it goes to about a 45-degree angle. So I'm laying on my side with my hands like in a kind of between my legs to keep them warm. And I've got my hood over my head, and I'm curled up, and every like 15 minutes I open my eye and I look and I check her oxygen. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. And they're concerned because like maybe her oxygen is bad because there's an infection just starting as opposed to one just ending. So I'm laying there trying to sleep, and there are times in life when you just need like a random act of kindness. And I was so, I was out of it, and I was worried, and I was tired, and I was stressed, and I was anxious, and I was miserable. And, Merry Christmas, because technically it's Christmas Day. And this one nurse came in, she checked on my mom, and she comes back a couple minutes later, and she's got one of those hot hospital blankets, and I can hear her go, whoosh, and I kind of woke up, and then I felt this radiating hot blanket be draped over me and tucked in, and I was just so comforted by that. Like, she didn't have to do that. She could have just kept going, but she took 2 minutes from her very busy day, and she went and got me a warm blanket. Every once in a while, you just need some kindness, and every once in a while, you actually get some. And it was just so nice. And it was exactly what I needed. And I got to sleep for another 2 hours. I got up at 5:30, and the doctor comes in, and he said, okay, well, her oxygen levels aren't great, but we're going to keep an eye on her. We're going to keep her here in this cast room, which is kind of like a private room. So great. And he's like, well, encourage her to eat and to drink, and, we'll get her some energy, and she'll get over this. I'm pretty sure it's the flu. Blah, blah, blah. And he said, the flu's really rough this year. It hits older people a lot harder than it hits anyone else because they don't have good reserves. So I'm thinking, great, super. Okay, there's a solution. And it just so happens my mom's doctor, her GP, came on call at 7 that morning. So he comes in, he's like, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm sorry to see you here. And he's trying to get her a bed upstairs in that hospital. But because that hospital isn't considered emergency hospital, like an ER, he has no control over who gets admitted and who doesn't anymore. Like in the old system, he could be like, this is my patient. I know her. I've seen her for 15 years. I want her to have a bed here. But now in this new system, they gave his bed away that he had been keeping for her. So she had to get sent by ambulance, transferred to another hospital. How much did that fucking cost? Hey, Premier, Mr. Palliser, you dumb fuck. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So now it's Christmas morning. And I feel bad because, you know, who doesn't want to be home with their kids on Christmas morning? It's one of those magical times where, you know, my kids are, 5 and how old Stella would have been? 18 months at the time. And there's so few moments where you get to watch your children be in complete and total awe. And it's magic. Just watching their little faces light up and just thinking, oh, Santa, oh, man, Santa. You know, like there's so few Christmases that you get where they actually believe in Santa and they're having a good time. And it's just, it made me really sad to miss that. And especially missing it for a really shitty reason because my mom is really, really sick. So that broke my heart. And it sucked. It sucked on many levels. I'm sure my mom would say her position was much worse than mine, and I would tend to agree with that. All right, so now I'm texting. I told my sister to go home. The non-Janice went home with her niece, or with my niece, sorry. And Janice is at home. And she's not, I told her we were taking her to the hospital, and she's like, oh, that's good. Better to get her checked out. Great. And then I texted her around, I can't remember what time, right after the CT scan saying it's not a stroke. Fine. Like she's not seeking out any information at all. Like, and you know, I just don't know how you don't text, like at least text and how's things going? What's going on? What do they think it is? How is she? No concern whatsoever. Great. Okay, never mind. It's okay. Everything's fine. So I texted her saying, okay, she just has to leave a urine sample and then we're going to leave. And she's like, yeah, I don't know why you guys brought her to the hospital. I mean, she's fine. She just needed to sleep one more night. Yeah. Sure she did, you dumb bitch. I love the told you so shit that I always get thrown in my face. Yeah, you're fucking great. Especially when you hear how the rest of the story goes. Okay, great. So we're there. And we stay in that room. And then I texted Janice saying, okay, they're going to admit her, but she can't stay here because there's no beds here. Because the flu epidemic hit hard that week. Everybody was sick. So she's like, oh, I thought she was coming home. And I'm like, well, no. And, you know, I haven't showered. I've been here since, okay, so it was Christmas Day. I think I went home around Christmas Day around 1 or 2. And non-Janice came and relieved me, so I left. And then I go home. I briefly hug my kids and my lover and head upstairs to have a shower and a nap. So I take a shower, I go to lay down, and then I start vomiting. Isn't that fun? I throw up. And I text my non-Janice, and I'm like, I just started throwing up. And she's like, oh, no, I hope I don't get sick, too. And I was like, oh, I don't know. So I took a gravel. And then I threw that up, and then I lay down and I took another gravel and I passed out cold. Now, Boxing Day is when Janice shows up at the hospital. Well, thank you, Jesus, for that, because no one thought she was going to be of any use whatsoever. And she actually showed up. I think she was attracted by the trauma. She loves chaos. This is just a situation that she just flourishes in. She just loves, you know, I don't know, sadness, despair, anxiety, unpredictability, you know, anything like that. She's just all over it. And I should be happy because, look, she was helpful. We were thinking she was going to contribute 0%, and she ended up contributing a lot more than that. As much as I hate to give Janice credit, she was extremely helpful, extremely kind, for a very short period of time, but it counts, okay? It counts. So I text Janice, I'm like, I just started throwing up. I can't come there. Can you ask them what their flu policy is? And she said, they don't really have a policy. It's common sense, like whatever, how, you know, as long as you feel okay. And I'm just like, okay. And she's like, well, just come today and put a mask on. And I texted her back. I'm like, I can't, like, I cannot physically get out of bed. Oh, okay. So that's Boxing Day. And then, is that Boxing Day? Shit. I think, no. Yeah, that was Boxing Day. And then I'm due to go relieve Janice on the 27th, early in the morning. So I get there, and she's been transferred to a different hospital, to the emergency hospital where the best cardiac doctors are. And I go in, and Janice is like, wait a minute. And I said, okay. She's like, I want you to know she's fine. She's fine. Everything's fine. And I said, what? What happened? Well, they had to use the defibrillator on her. And I was like, what? Because in my brain, you know, when you hear defibrillator, what do you think? Clear, ka-chunk, right? Is that not what you think? And she said that her heart rate was racing so fast. It was like 180 or something like that. And I think a healthy resting heart rate's around 70. So yeah, they had to reset her heart with these electrodes so that it would, like, to rejig it, because apparently she had an arrhythmia and it was beating way too fast. So it's a really dangerous situation. You're just begging for a heart attack. So the safest bet was to reset her heart. So they gave her all this morphine and, or maybe it's not morphine. I don't know. They gave her something to chill her out so that she wouldn't freak out when they go to zap her. And I was like, oh my God. And she's like, yeah, I just didn't want you to worry. And I was like, Janice, is that you? Are you in there? Don't come out. I like new Janice. New Janice is great. Yeah, I don't like old Janice. You keep old Janice away from me. So she was like super chill, and she's like, takes me in. She shows me where the bedpans are, what's going on over here. Here's where the cloths are. She's not hungry yet, but encourage her to drink. And I had made some turkey soup. Like, I made turkey stock from scratch, boiled it all day. Like, I had it in the freezer, and then I made her a turkey soup with like lots of meat and, you know, lots of broth, how she likes it, with a fucking tomato in it. I don't know why. It's an Italian thing. I'm not entirely sure. So I go in there and I look at my sister. I'm like, hey, go home. I got it for a while. You can come back tonight if you want. And she's like, yeah, I'll take the night shift. I don't mind doing that. And I was like, great. Because I fucking don't like sleeping in chairs. It's not ideal for me. And at this place, we're still in the emergency room technically. So all around, you know, there's people. My mom can't handle when somebody coughs up mucus. Like, you know, that really wet cough that's usually followed by a gag when you gag up mucus. And she's already nauseous and she's fucking mad. Okay? And so the guy next to her in the next bed, like, I walked by when I got the bedpan. I can hear him coughing up this really wet, phlegmy cough, but he's like some kind of special needs or something. I don't know what it was, but he looked like, you know, his muscles were really tense in his arms. Like, it didn't look like he could see. He was just kind of, yeah, I don't know, some kind of special. So I go and get my mom a new bedpan, get all this shit together, and then I come back in there, and she's like, I don't want to fucking stay here anymore, in Italian. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but like, you can't leave. I'm like, are you still dizzy? She said, yeah. Like, do you want some soup? Sure. So I spoon fed my mom some of this broth, and, like, you know, there was a twinge of, like, in her eyes, she was starting to kind of come back. She's like, oh, that's not bad. And I was like, wow, you must be close to death if you're saying something nice about my cooking. You must be real fucked up, or you're fucking starving. But it was encouraging to me that she was trying to eat the soup and she liked the taste of it. You know, it's always nice when someone who's been ill for days and days and days, you know, without saying anything to anyone, is now kind of feeling a little bit hungry. It's kind of encouraging thing to see. Before I get to the next part of this story, I should remind you guys, like, when she had her stroke back in April, a mini stroke or whatever, I don't know, mini, maxi, whatever, my sister, my non-Janice, took that night shift, because I said to her, like, my kids will be gone for the whole week next week because they were going to Victoria with their mom, and I'll do the rest of the night shifts, but I need you to take this one because in the morning I have to take them to the airport at like 4:30 in the morning. So non-Janice spent the night with my mom in the hospital with her stroke. And then I know for sure they dosed her with morphine. And non-Janice was telling me the stories. Remember, her roommate shit himself, and he was asking the nurses to touch his dick. Touch my dick. And the nurses are like, your what? Your neck? No, my dick. Touch my dick. And anyway, so my non-Janice said when my mom woke up in the middle of the night with the morphine, she had the IV, and she's like, why am I handcuffed like this? And she's like looking at her hand, like totally fucking stoned out of her face. Why am I stuck here? And she's looking at the bars on the on the bed, and my sister's like, oh my God, like, what if this is who she is now? Like, she doesn't know where she is, who she is, like, what she's doing. But it turns out she was just really fucking high, which, I mean, my mom has never been drunk a day in her life. She's never smoked a cigarette. She's never been high outside of these medical situations. Okay, so whatever they gave her before they zapped her with those electrodes to restart her heart is going to play a huge part in the next part of this story. Okay, we're in the emergency room, and, you know, you're basically like just separated by tents. So now a doctor comes in, and he wants to get to assess my mom. Like, you know, and I think she's been assessed a few times, and she's mad as hell, and she's not going to take it anymore. So the doctor comes in. He's young. He's obviously younger than me. And I wonder what my mom thinks, you know, of the way that men have kind of evolved since she was, say, 20 to now when she's 74. Because, you know, they've gotten tighter pants, fancier hair, pointier shoes. They're kind of not in, you know, not like coal miners. You know, they aren't rugged, manly men, which isn't to say they aren't smart. It's just different. So this guy comes in, and he kind of looks like a supermodel to me. He's got the tight little pants on. He's got these dress shoes on. And the only thing that, to me, says that he's a doctor is this scrub top with the stethoscope. And he comes in, he's like, hello, Mrs. Sanchez, how are you today? And she's like, I'm a no good. No. How are you feeling? No good. He's like, okay. And he swings out his stethoscope. He's like, okay, I just need to assess you. I'm sorry. He did not say that. He did not say that. He said, I just need to assess you. And she's like, no. And I was very confused, and I looked at my mom, because my mom is not one to rebuff authority. Like, if she grew up in a very strict household, she went to school with some Catholic nuns. Like, if someone of authority says something, you just do it. That's like her doctor, everybody. She just listens and behaves well, and she's really kind of actually nice if you're not me. So he's like, okay, I'm just going to need to assess. No. And then the doctor looks at me, and I'm confused, and I look at my mom, and I'm like, what do you mean no? She's like, no. He said, well, I just need to listen. No, she says. And the doctor's just, and I'm like, he said, is this normal behavior for her? And I'm like, no, it's not normal, and it's kind of concerning me. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, she did have those drugs. Like, I wonder what drugs they gave her, because the last time she acted like a spaz like this was from the drugs. And he said, okay, that's weird. And then he starts asking me questions. And my mom's just beaking off in Italian. She's like, you don't fucking tell him anything. It's my business. It's not his business. You don't tell him my fucking business. Don't say a goddamn word to him. And I'm looking at the doctor this whole time, because he obviously doesn't understand Italian, and I do. And I'm like, I must have been looking like really bug-eyed. And then he's, you know, trying to talk to my mom, and she's like, nope. He's like, no. And then he's like, I just need to assess you. And then my mom goes, why you no assess yourself? And I couldn't stop laughing, because, like, my mom, you assess yourself. Okay. And the doctor's kind of starting to get mad now, because he's like, I don't have time for this fucking crazy old Italian lady bullshit. So, like, what are we going to do here? And I look at the doctor, and I'm like, okay, hey, let's just get out of here. Give her a minute, because I think she's kind of, you know, it's been a few days since she's had a really good night's sleep, and she's not well. So we basically just, you know, go on the other side of the fucking curtain, which is technically out of the room. And he starts asking me questions, he's trying to figure out why my mom's heart is racing, why her oxygen levels are so low, and what the fuck is going on here, basically, because he has no idea, right? Of course not. Like, maybe if my mom stayed at the hospital where her fucking GP worked, he would be able to take care of my mom, and he knows her history. But this guy, no, nothing. So he's trying to figure things out. And he's like, does your mom have home care? And my mom, I don't need a home care. Nobody coming to my house. And I'm just standing there rolling my eyes. And he's like, okay, does she get home care? No. I'm like, no, she doesn't get home care. And I looked at him. I'm like, that's why she had kids. Why did she have 3 kids if she's going to get home care? She had kids to not get home care. And he said, okay, she's acting unusual, right? Would you say? And I'm like, yeah, very unusual. This is not like her at all. Okay. So does she go, when does she get winded? And I'm thinking to myself, I have no fucking idea because I don't think I've seen my mom walk a city block since I was about 9 years old. Maybe that's a slight exaggeration. Maybe I was 14, but seriously, she does not seek out exercise. And that's pretty much what I told him. And my mom in Italian's yelling, don't tell him anything. They're going to come to our house. He's going to send someone to kill us. And I'm just like, I'm like rolling my eyes and I'm looking at him and I'm kind of smirking because she's constantly yelling at me to shut up and not say anything to him in Italian. And he's looking at me and I'm just like smiling. Yeah, okay. So anyway, I said, okay, like, can you assess her without her consent? Like, he said, no, I can't do that. And, you know, I need to figure things out. So I'm just kind of asking you to gather what information I can. Okay, great. I'm like, let's go back in there. Maybe I can talk her into letting you take a look. And he said, okay, let's try. So we go back in there and then he whips out a stethoscope again. She's like, no assessing me. Nope. And she rolls over and she like crosses her arms and she's like, nope. And he said, I just need to listen to your heart and make sure you're okay. Nope. Okay. And the doctor's looking at me and I'm like, I throw my arms up and he's like, okay, well, I guess I'll have to come back later then when you're feeling better because, you know, I've got a lot of patients to see today. And I'm just like, I look at her and I'm just like, Ma, please just let him fucking assess you so that we can get out of this terrible room. I'm like, you don't want to listen to that guy hack up stuff, do you? She's like, no. And I said, I don't want to sit in that chair all day either. And she's like, nope, he can no assessing me. Okay. Great. And the doctor's just like, okay, well, see ya. Good luck with your fucking crazy mom, dude. And I'm just like, okay, great. This is going well. So he leaves. And then a couple hours later, this was the emergency room. But now they have this newfangled thing called the emergency reassessment unit. So it's just a slightly quieter place to be. Oh my God. So we get moved into there. There's like, it's basically tents. And my mom said, oh my God, it's like the tents of Africa. Look, we're in Africa. And I'm just like, oh my God. And then the nurse comes in to check on her, to reassess her. So this is a few hours later. I get the feeling maybe some of the drugs have worn off or her shitty attitude has worn off. I'm not sure which. And the nurse comes in and she said, hi, my name is Galina. And my mom gives me the side eye. And maybe that's not funny to you if you're not Italian, but my mom's specific dialect of Italian, Galina means chicken. So basically the nurse came in to see my high mom and introduced herself as Chicken. I'm your nurse Chicken today, and my mom side-eyes me, and I'm like, yeah, okay, this isn't going to go well. Like, I'm crossing my fingers and praying to God my mom doesn't start, like, clucking like a chicken, or making reference to how her name means chicken, or insulting this very nice young woman in any way, shape, or form. It's okay. Everything went fine. You guys, I know you guys are thinking, this isn't going to go well. Look, my mom's got this shit. Okay, she's cool. She's chill. She's made eye contact with Chicken, and I feel like things are going great. Okay? And then Chicken says to my mom, do you know what your name is? And my mom looks at Chicken and says, no. And then Chicken looks at me. And she looks at my mom, and Chicken says, do you know who this is? Pointing at me. And I look at my mom and I smile as though, you know, we've never met before and I didn't come out of her vagina, which I just recently saw yet again while I was helping her with the bedpan. And my mom just smiles and I look at Chicken and I said, now I can't tell if she's serious or she's just being a jerk. Okay, and then Chicken says, well, that's okay. I mean, you know, she's probably tired. She did get the defibrillator. That can take a lot out of you. She's been assessed a lot. You know, she's been asked the same questions numerous times, and maybe she's just sick of it. And I was like, yeah, I think that might be the case. And then Chicken says, or she has a bladder infection. That can make old people kind of wonky. So I was like, great. So she said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to turn this machine on to silent. We're going to shut the lights and you guys can just rest for the next 4 hours and then I'll come and check on you again. And look, I got to tell you, I don't meet a lot of chickens in my time, but Chicken was all right. She was all right. Now, the woman in the bed beside my mom, she was no chicken. She was a real annoying bitch. Okay, I'm sorry to say it. And like, almost that entire ward was just old people, this reassessment unit. So at first I'm sitting there, and it's dark. There are no windows. The only way to tell that any time is passing is whichever shitty meal they're bringing. That's the only way I can really tell. Or I'm looking at my phone or whatever. But if you're just an old woman hallucinating in a bed who just got defibrillated, you don't know what fucking time it is. And she keeps asking me, she's like, what time is it? Is it 2 o'clock? Is it 1 o'clock? Is it daytime? Is it nighttime? I'm like, fuck, I don't know. I'm like, oh, okay, it's noon. And the lady in the next bed, she just keeps saying, help me. Help me. Oh God, someone help. Help. Help me. Someone help. Is anyone there? Help. Help. Look, okay, that was like, what, 15 fucking seconds? Maybe? Okay, I want you to imagine, like, I'm going to say, in total, I experienced that woman's voice for 16 hours. Like, not in a row. I think it was like 10 hours one day, and then, 10 hours the next day. Oh, that's already 20. That's already 20 hours. My story doesn't wash. Whatever. It might have even been more than 16, because apparently I can't do math. So she's just kind of like got this ear-piercing voice, and it's always blown my mind. Like, where is her fucking family? I mean, everywhere I looked in that place, through this entire experience, I kept thinking to myself, where's your family? Why are you here alone? For endless hours, alone. And it turns out no one likes fucking old people. I'm just kidding. So that woman next door is doing the help me thing, and she's asking for lorazepam, which is Ativan, which is an anti-anxiety, and I'm just thinking, fuck, I'm going to give her some. If you guys don't fucking give her some, I'm going over there. Because she's just constantly asking for help. And then she's like, the nurse has to come over there, and she's like, now Verna, not her real name, Verna, push the call bell, Verna. Don't just start yelling, you're disturbing the other people. Oh, I'm sorry, Nurse Kristen. I'm sorry. I'm just on the commode here, and I couldn't get off. Okay, let me help you back into the bed. Okay. Now, there comes a point where, Verna has gotten onto the commode yet again. I don't know how many hours later. It's all fucking irrelevant. Who the hell knows? And she's stuck there, and she's like, help. Help me. Help me. And I kind of get close to the curtain, but don't invade her privacy. And I said, do you need me to get someone for you? Yes, please, help me. Help me. And I saw her through the crack in the curtain. No, and she's stuck on a fucking commode. And the call bell is on the other side of the bed. So I push my mom's call bell, and then the healthcare aide comes over. I'm like, can you please help this fucking woman? Give her a fucking horse tranquilizer, if you could, a la Jack Tripper when he put the potted plant on his head. Could you fucking do that for me, please? Because I just need some quiet. Okay, it's taken care of. Okay, now let's just fast forward, okay? Then it becomes 8 o'clock, so I've been there from about 8 to 8, which, in case you couldn't do the fucking math, is 12 hours. Nothing really eventful happens. My mom sleeps a lot during that day, and she's hungry. So I went and asked the nurses, I'm like, do you guys have anything? Like, my mom's finally hungry. She hasn't really eaten anything in a few days, so they give me this salmon salad sandwich. And I'm like, oh, great, she'll love that. So I give my mom the sandwich, and my heart lifts, and she's eating the sandwich. She's like, oh, this is so fresh and good. And I'm like, yes. And so what if she's eating it while she's on the commode? Is that up to me to decide if it's okay or not? No, it's perfectly fine. So then I tag off with Janice. I love new Janice. New Janice was great. She was great. She's, we're trading off. I'm giving her the lowdown, telling her what to expect, all this stuff. She goes in there. She takes the night shift. I leave, and myself and non-Janice come back the next day. So now she's been there, 2 or 3 days. Again, no windows, no sunlight, no sign of whether or not there's going to be a bed opening up upstairs because the flu has hit the entire city. Great. So, pardon me. Sorry, I could edit that out, but why? So now it's my mom, non-Janice, and me. Now, after I left, a couple hours after my mom had eaten that sandwich, she exploded in a fountain of shit. She just there was just a shit attack, explosion, not cool, but I was really happy it happened to Janice because I didn't have to clean it up, okay? Because no one, oh God. Okay, sorry. Just payback's a bitch, Janice. You know what I'm saying? So it's the next day. That little old woman that screamed for help every fucking, 35 seconds until I wanted to go over there and fucking smother her with a pillow. She got a bed. Now, there's another old gentleman there who is confused. Let's put it that way. He's confused. And I think his daughter and son were there. I don't know. There is no privacy. There's nothing else to do but hear and listen to the people around you, just like they're listening to us. So I hear the nurse go in there, and she says to the old man who doesn't know who or where or when he is, and says, I need to do a urine test on you to make sure you don't have a bladder infection. And he's like, huh? And the kids are like, oh, okay, well, we're going to get the fuck out of here because no one needs to see Dad's dick. We're just going to leave. And she said, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Like, come back in about an hour or so. We'll get him squared away and everything. And my sister and I are sitting here, and you can hear the nurse because you have to practically scream when you're dealing with someone who's, 147 years old. And you can hear her go in there, and my sister and I are looking at each other, and she says to him, sir, I just need a urine sample from you. And he's like, what? A urine sample? But the problem is, sir, you're incontinent. Huh? Yeah, I'm just gonna have to put this catheter into your penis. Huh? Okay. And I look at my sister, non-Janice, and I'm like, oh no, God, please no. Okay. So she says, okay, I'm just going to put my gloves on now. All right, I've got the catheter ready. I'm just going to pull up your gown. Okay? Huh? Great. And she's like, okay, I'm going to touch your penis now. All right, okay, I'm touching your penis. And he says, get out of there. What are you doing? Sir, you're incontinent. I need a urine sample? Okay, I'm just going to put this in your penis now. Get out of there. What are you doing? Okay, I've got the catheter in. You shouldn't feel anything because I froze it. Okay, are you okay? Get out of there. Mom! Mom! Okay, now listen, I am obviously not a mathematician, but this man's mother is quite obviously like a pile of bones somewhere. Okay, he's 147. She's got to be 4,000 years old. She is not coming. I know that. You know that. Chicken, wherever the fuck Chicken is, she knows that. And this woman knows that. So she cats him. She's like, okay, good. I'm getting a good sample here, sir. You just need to sit still. Don't move, okay? Nothing. Okay. Right? She's like, okay, I've got my sample. I'm just gonna take this out. Okay? Are you okay? I pooped. Oh my God. And my sister is laughing her ass off silently. And here's exactly what I'm doing. Please, God, make me a bird so I can fly far, far, far away from here. Please, God, make me a bird so I can fly far, far away from here. Okay, that's just about an hour. That's all I've got for today. I do have a story coming up next show, which who the fuck knows when that's going to be. Just stick with me, guys. Okay, stick with me. I am in the sandwich generation. I've got small kids and a mom who's very fucking stubborn and infuriating still. So, okay, spoiler, she's still fucking annoying. Just hang in there with me, okay? All right, so I am Sandra D. Sanchez, Facebook, Twitter. Go to changeyouraddress.podbean.com. If you would like to donate to the podcast, ha ha ha, why would you? I know. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. I'm doing quarterly podcasts. That's not enough. And there's an Amazon link at changeofaddress.podbean.com. Oh, and there goes Stella. Perfect timing. She is crying. You want to hear her cry? It's really great. Let's turn it up. Come on, Stella. You know you want to cry. You know you want to ruin my life, Stella. And Stella may or may not have eaten a bead at my mom's house the other day. All I know is her and Malcolm were playing with beads. Yeah, she's rolling around. Okay, I'll turn this down again. And Malcolm screamed, "She's got a bead in her mouth!" And then I went in there and looked at her, and she looked just looked at me like a dog who had just eaten their own shit. Like, you know, that kind of look. Like, what? Looking at me? You need me for something? Talking to me? Yeah, it was really quite great. I don't know what color it is, and everyone's someone wrote on the Facebook fan page. Oh, also, I kind of deleted the public Facebook fan page, and now it's a closed group. So if you're interested in the closed group, I'm actually kind of writing more things on there. I'm using it as though it's my personal Facebook page, which I am not writing on anymore because I don't really know who I'm friends with. So if you want to join the Change of Address group, which is private, and not just any slut on the internet can see what I'm writing, then please go ahead. Okay? And if you have any well wishes or you want to encourage me to not slip my wrists or run the car in the garage, I am totally open for you to message me anything encouraging like that. Okay. What the fuck was I saying? Right. The Amazon links are at the changeofaddress.podbean.com site. Okay? And Facebook, Twitter, Stitcher. You can link us on Stitcher. And that's about it. And I will do another show, but I'm on vacation right now, and this time is flying by because every morning we're going to my mom's house and picking something different to clean. And with 2 kids at my mom's house and trying to clean, and one of those kids being Stella, it's very difficult. So I'm just busy. And like my own house is a fucking disaster. And my pantry, it's my dream to have a clean, organized pantry with like sections, you know, kid snacks, pastas, canned goods, like shit like that. Like I want to open my pantry and not like I usually do, like open it a crack and then kind of shuffle in when we have company. Cause like I want a pantry where everyone's like, oh wow. Everything's like something Rose would do, like tallest to smallest kind of thing. And like, I want it like almost color coded. Do you know what I mean? I have a dream. Like Martin Luther King had a dream. Yeah. But this is a real attainable dream, I feel, you know? Okay, it's not. Maybe, but the point is, I took an hour here that I should have been doing at the pantry because I love you guys and you're my internet besties, and people in my own life really just don't give 2 fucks about me. So that's why I'm counting on you. All right. So I will do another one of these as soon as I can, which could mean tomorrow or it could mean fucking 6 months from now, fucking Friday. Okay. And keep in mind, just a little cliffhanger. We're about to talk about New Year's Eve. Okay. Gets real cool. Real cool. Okay. So that's about it. And I have segments from Rainbow and one from Gary. So I'm going to get to those. It just seemed awkward and weird to try to ram them into this fucking monstrosity of a show that's just about an hour long here, okay? Take note. Just about an hour long. Sure, it's like 8 weeks late, but it's an hour long, okay? Fuck you. Okay. Love you. Thank you. Okay, love you. Bye.